After 9 minutes we will go to the live stream, so please stay with us until 9 minutes end. You will just stay with us our channel, and we will go to after 8 minutes. Please stay.
change in the top order because of Martin Guptill resting Stephen Taylor. I think he's certainly going to be exciting. US player as well. As we look at the bowlers, Tanvir, he bowled well. He didn't necessarily pick up as many wickets and bowled well in his ability to shape the ball back in. And Rashid Khan, I think he needs to have a good performance today.
Good weather conditions prevailing at the moment. And these two teams matched up yesterday. The Amazon Warriors didn't quite get enough when they batted. They've won the toss today and they've asked the Patriots to bat. You were out there looking at the surface. What can we expect from the pitch?
Well, there was certainly a lot of moisture put into the wicket at the end of the day's play. The ground staff are conscious that the grass is only really a 2-month old, so the fact that it hasn't got the depth means it's going to open up a lot, so they're trying to keep it together by putting the water through. We heard Riyad Emirates talk about the fact that, you know, it could be a little bit tacky early on because of that moisture. So from a batting perspective, it's going to be hard, not only from a timing, but then as it dries out, it's going to probably break up as well.
So what should the approach of this man be? Christopher Gayle, and some people say his mini-me, Evin Lewis, who is the heir apparent to the universe boss. How should they approach this opening stand?
I think they've got to stick with what they know well and then go and play with their strengths. The hard thing is trying to find that timing. So we saw Gayle take his time, didn't we, yesterday? He's a little bit more circumspect now. He's not the usual just from ball one and go hard. So again, I think they need to assess the conditions and from there adapt. And we heard Tom Moody as well saying the teams that can adapt better to the conditions today, having learnt some lessons yesterday, will prove to come out ahead today.
Well, there's a lot that Tom Moody says that is not applicable to Chris Gayle at the pitch. 1s and 2s, he said, would make the difference.
That's not going to happen, is it?
Not if Gayle bats 19 overs. Sohail Tanvir, you picked him. You identified him as a potential key man today.
Yeah, I think he yesterday 1 for 22 of 4. He bowled well. You know, he needs to create a few more opportunities. The fact that he's opening the bowling, he's the lead bowler, he needs to be able to strike well against someone like a Chris Gayle.
The thing that was interesting to me at the toss when I asked Chris Gayle about his form, his IPL form, 200 runs, 9 innings this year, averaged just over 20. His PSL form wasn't great early in the year in February either. He says he hasn't been getting a lot of practice time. I think that's one of the things he said. I think he needs to work harder. This man is starting his career, Evin Lewis. So hopefully it is the countdown to some fireworks here at Lauderhill today. After yesterday's feel-out encounter, let's see who can land the most critical blow today, says Leslie Reefer Jr. Start with a wide. I'll let you know I spoke to the groundsman as well, and he was of the opinion. His opinion is there'll be bounce and pace in this track.
Well, based on the first ball that was just bowled, yes. But this is a look at the wicket. Very flat. There's hardly anything in the wicket. We saw yesterday there was a lot of bare surfaces. Again, you'll see that, and any kind of grass has been really rolled in. There you go, it's a single. Well run.
Keep going, man. Keep going, man. Keep going, man. Keep going, man.
One of what Tom Moody hopes will be one of many. Yesterday's count with regards to dot balls, the Warriors only soaked up 43. There was 51 for the Patriots. They didn't bat all of their overs, but they won. Umpire Bassarat out of Trinidad and Tobago. Morning to you, Zahid. And out of Barbados, Leslie Reefer Jr. comes from a very highly pedigreed cricketing stock. The Reefers in Barbados are a very prominent cricket fraternity. Do you go spin from the other end, off spin from the other end again, as was the case yesterday?
I don't think so. I'd go pace. I think because it's just going to skid on a little bit more. And if the ground staff is saying that there's going to be more bounce and pace, utilize it.
I'm not saying they're right. The ground staff, the groundsman told me, he said there'd be kick and bounce, which is a new term in cricketing parlance to me. Kick.
Kick.
Yeah, there'd be kick off the pitch. And that kicked.
Well done, Bish. You just got this ball on a string, haven't you? Just like when you were bowling. There's the ground staff.
Keep going, fellas. Keep going, fellas.
Supporters in nice and early to get their seats. Up on the hill, under a tent, trying to keep warm. I like it.
Yeah, we're loving that. But we saw Stephen Jacobs share the new ball with Tabraiz yesterday. He got Evin Lewis out very cheaply. Right, and there is a trend of thought from some that Gayle is vulnerable against the off-spinner early in his innings. So if it seems, as Shane Warne always says, he thinks it'll spin, not that Jacobs ever spins it, he bowls an arm ball, wicket to wicket, two left-handers opening up. I think there's a good case for him to share this new ball.
Yep.
And he's accustomed to doing it.
And nicely guided down to third. So, as we suspect, Chris Gayle just taking his time to have a look at this wicket. But you make some really good points, Ian, the fact that we see in T20 cricket regularly spinners opening up with the new ball. And sometimes they don't have to be big turners, especially with the new ball. They skids on a little bit quicker than what players might suspect. Jacobs certainly struck early in yesterday's game. Well bowled. Get the ball to shape back in. So a good over, 4 runs coming from it. It's 4 for no loss.
Galaxy S8 with infinity display that gives you less to hold and infinitely more to see.
Seagram's Royal Stag Mega Cricket Cup Test Series, powered by Servo Lubricants. Sri Lanka versus India, 3rd test, live on Sony 6 and Sony 10-3.
Patriots, who are in their 3rd year of CPL cricket.
The same team for the same kids. And why wouldn't they keep the same team? They got off to an absolute flyer. The last previous CPLs were the bottom dwellers. You've got to play it louder here in Lauderhill.
I reckon they should just stick a picture of Danny Morrison there. Oh, will it hold in the pitch? Almost carried back to Stephen Jacobs.
I like it. I like the fact that, again, they've gone with Jacobs. They've backed the fact that the spinner is effective with the new ball.
Not timed it perfectly, but the big bat of Chris Gayle has allowed this to race over the outfield with that missed hit.
Jacobs shouldn't be disappointed with this because it is a full shot. He enticed him to drive. He wanted to go over the offside. got a thick inside edge, but because his bat is so strong, so big, he was able to find that gap, and we've already seen how fast this outfield is.
High ball. Keep going, Jakes. Keep going, Jakey. Keep going, Jakey. Oh, yeah, Jakey. Nice it, Jakey. Nice it, Jakey.
The deep fielders are at long off and deep mid-wicket. So clearing mid-on is an option if Gayle can do so. Especially with the off-spinner looking to bowl a straight line and not turning it much.
Well, he's really darting it in. That's over 100 kilometres an hour, 102. He doesn't want to give the width. And we saw that yesterday. He gave one ball was the width, and Gayle went bang straight over cover for 6. So he wants to bowl tight lines to the left-handers. I think with Lewis, he can afford to be a little bit more off stump line.
Fielder in the left corner of your screen.
Ball in, Jakes. Ball in, Jakes. Ball in, Jakes.
Been around for a while, Stephen Jacobs. I think he captained the West Indies under 19, as I said yesterday, and has played a fair amount of first-class cricket and white ball cricket without ever being spectacular. He can bat as well. Slip has come out. Two overs completed, 11 without loss.
Hey, सब ठीक है?
नहीं यार, ट्रैफिक देखा है, हालत खराब हो जाती है।
सुन, कल साथ में चलते हैं। जब कारपूल हो सकता है तो स्कूटर पूल क्यों नहीं?
एक नहीं, ये दो की सवारी है, सोच नहीं।
अंकल, स्कूटर पूल ट्राई कीजिए, पेट्रोल भी बचेगा।
चलिए बदल दें देश की सड़कों को हीरो ड्यूएट के साथ। इसमें है एडवांस्ड इंजन, नए एडवांस्ड फीचर्स और इसकी हर बात में है एक नई सोच।
हीरो ड्यूएट, एक सोच नहीं।
Tanvir with the slip in place. He's a real joker, that fella. He could be a hero fan of the match today. US $500, and it's amazing, folks, and you watching by television around the Caribbean islands, for the first few editions of this tournament, this has created so much sensationalism with people coming dressed up just to try to get their hands on that check.
Why not?
I'm thinking of doing it myself.
Yeah, I thought you were dressed.
I just want our bosses to know that did not come from me. It came from Lisa Saleka talking about our fancy dress. We're in with a chance of the hero fan of the match as well. We've seen this before. This is not new, so he's got to go back and rethink.
Bit boring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need a rethink of the helmet with the flags and stuff on it.
I think at least he's given it a go. He could have come without it.
He's an also-ran. He wants to go big. We saw Tanvir, even at his medium pace, use the short ball with some effect yesterday. He hit Jonathan Carter in the head, just pulled away for 4 a little bit later.
Well, he's getting the ball to kind of get back into at the left-handers, and it moved off the seam as well. It's your birthday, happy birthday. bit of time spent on that side. A lot of colouring in.
There's a lot of talk about the size of bats, and we know that conversation continues to evolve. And the guys who are currently playing will say to you, look, this is not only about the bats, the players are stronger, the players are fitter. Chris Gayle is a prime example of a more superbly built athlete than maybe was the case 30 years ago. You have to be to wield the bats, but it's how effectively you wield it and how well you carry out that dress. That is fantastic. Outstanding attire.
The other thing to consider is that there's been a lot of development over so many decades regarding the equipment. The bat, pads, gloves, everything has changed. Yet the ball really remains the same, doesn't it? There hasn't been really any change to the ball except for the colours, from the white to now the pink. So in that sense, it's a bit of a disadvantage for the bowlers because the batters have been able to adapt their equipment to get the best out of them, where the bowlers have put more and more restrictions on them.
Slip is out. Strengthening of the onside field. Yeah, he goes short, and it goes down to deep backward square, and almost well taken. Brilliantly done by Badree. Talked about the use of that short ball, just riding the wind, took it a little bit further. 14 without loss.
Galaxy S8 with infinity display that gives you less to hold and infinitely more to see.
What does it take to wear this? Years of dedication, endless hours of hard work, and the strength to go beyond.
World's best cricketing action on Sony 6 and Sony 6 HD. Sony Pictures Sports Network. Go beyond.
Jacobs to continue. Let's have a look at this fielding. Great effort by Azam. Flicks the ball back in, good awareness. And he was disappointed that he didn't flick it up high enough so he could turn around and catch it.
It would have been a Republic Bank.
Classic catch. Well, it was a catch in the end. I think.
Momentarily.
Momentarily.
And the thing is, if that had been the other side of the ground, if that had been hit to the eastern side of the ground, the wind would have held that up, because I thought Badree had it covered for a moment, but just the force and the help of the wind kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it.
Well, that's something that I mentioned when I did the pitch report as well, is that bowlers need to be smart. Captains need to be smart of what end they're going to put certain bowlers to a right or left-handed batter, and batters need to be tactically smart to use that wind to their advantage.
Smart bowling by Jacobs. Just moving the line, shifting the line around as Evin Lewis has been trying to line him up for that loft down the ground. Evin Lewis from South Trinidad scored 100 against India here last year. Oh, he's gone. He must be gone. Excellent work behind the stumps from Chadwick Walton. And Jacobs gets Lewis again. Did it yesterday.
Well, they're certainly going to have a look at this for the stumping. They have to go through to see if it's a legal delivery. Yes, it is. Well taken, nice and quick. So Lewis departs again. The first wicket goes down for the St Kitts Nevis Patriots. Lewis goes for 4. It's 14 for 1.
हे, सब ठीक है?
नहीं यार, ट्रैफिक देखा है, हालत खराब हो जाती है।
सुन, कल साथ में चलते हैं। जब कारपूल हो सकता है तो स्कूटर पूल क्यों नहीं?
एक नहीं ये दो की सवारी है, सोच नहीं।
अंकल, स्कूटर पूल ट्राई कीजिए, पेट्रोल भी बचेगा।
चलिए बदल दें देश की सड़कों को हीरो ड्यूएट के साथ। इसमें है एडवांस्ड इंजन, नए एडवांस्ड फीचर्स और इसकी हर बात में है एक नई सोच।
हीरो ड्यूएट, एक सोच नहीं।
Galaxy S8 with infinity display that gives you less to hold and infinitely more to see.
To the middle. Lisa, we so often talk as we look at the wicket of Evin Lewis again. We've been trying to line up the off spinner, but Jacobs is crafty. And all he tried to do there is bowl that arm ball again. You could see the seam position as the ball went down and Lewis losing his shape. I just wonder how critical this attempt to get things going in the construct of most T20 teams with 2 potential power hitters at the top. Would they mind Lewis giving it a charge and losing his wicket in the process?
Well, only the coaching staff can really answer that question. You normally see the fact that there'll be one big hitter and there'll be one player, almost like a Chadwick Walton, that just stays for the whole period of time. Now we seem to have a bit of an issue with, I think, the side screen. And there's been a separation of the side screen, so that's going to distract the batters.
That's off stump.
But then you just think of club cricketers when there's nothing behind them and they just carry on, don't they?
Well, I grew up playing cricket in the Queen's Park Savannah in Port of Spain, Trinidad. You'll see it when you get there for the finals, and it's a huge expanse of parkland, nearly 3 kilometers around, and there are about 12 or 13 cricket pitches in there, neither of which has had a side screen ever, and we never stop for anyone walking across the bowler's line. There's horse racing there as well, and there'd be horse races, horses running, people walking, kite flying. No stopping the game. I blame the British for that tradition. 14 for 1.
हे, सब ठीक है?
नहीं यार, ट्रैफिक देखा है, हालत खराब हो जाती है।
सुन, कल साथ में चलते हैं। जब कारपूल हो सकता है तो स्कूटर पूल क्यों नहीं?
एक नहीं ये दो की सवारी है, सोच नहीं।
अंकल, स्कूटर पूल ट्राई कीजिए, पेट्रोल भी बचेगा।
चलिए बदल दें देश की सड़कों को हीरो ड्यूएट के साथ। इसमें है एडवांस्ड इंजन, नए एडवांस्ड फीचर्स और इसकी हर बात में है एक नई सोच।
हीरो ड्यूएट, एक सोच नहीं।
Of course, I was only joking about my British comment. The director is from the UK, co-commentator Alan Wilkins from Wales. Is that part of the UK still?
Well, I think whenever they want to, yeah.
And of course, we've got a lot of people tuned in from the UK as well. Peter Matthews, the obviously long-serving West Indian fan, messaged me yesterday. He's in the UK following the West Indies tour, and he's been watching the CPL like a lot of other people. So just understand my humour.
It's a dry humour, people.
Riyad Emirates into the attack, captain for the day. A bit of bounce, and he got Chris Gayle yesterday with one that was dropped in short and steepled on Chris Gayle, just a touch, got him caught just on the leg side.
Boy, he really set him up, didn't he? He kept bowling that back of a length delivery where Gayle wanted to go hard again and again, and then Gayle actually tried to change up the length by going back in his crease to make it even shorter, and that's when the ball just kicked a little bit more. And that was very similar. This time he was able to keep that one down. That's what he tried to do. He tried to hit it quite square. So Gayle seems to have learned his lesson. The last delivery, he just hit it a little bit straighter. Jamaican flags. It's Independence Day today.
55 years old, Jamaica. Unfortunately for them, Usain Bolt couldn't actually help them extend the celebrations as he lost yesterday to Justin Gatlin in the World Champs, but that doesn't spoil his legacy at all. His legacy, Usain Bolt, has been well set, established and concretized forever. Just couldn't finish it as he would want to, and even in cricket, Bradman couldn't finish it as he would have wanted to.
Mohammad Hafeez scored 19 off 16 deliveries yesterday. He looked good whilst he was out in the middle. So he needs to be able to build on from that. He had such a good Champions Trophy. 57 not out versus India in the final. You're right, more bounce. It's good. Because that's what you need, and this has been such a ground that has yielded so many runs. Whereas yesterday, I think everyone's a little bit disappointed with the wicket. It wasn't as much pace or bounce, which really allows, from a T20 perspective, the spectacle that people come out here to watch.
One of the things that influenced Riyad Emirates on winning the toss and asking the Patriots about is he thought it would be too paced. I think the Patriots thought that that would be the case as well. So there is bounce and pace, but is it in different pace? I can't answer that. The batsman will have a better idea, but there's certainly that bounce and that carry. What's a good score, Lisa? What would you be aiming at?
I think par score around 150. Based on what happened yesterday.
Good single, excellent over from Emirates, 2 from it, 16 for 1.
Galaxy S8 with infinity display that gives you less to hold and infinitely more to see.
How far is your goal? Depends on how well you can tackle, dribble, and pass. That's football, or as they call it, life.
Go beyond with Sony 10-2 and Sony 10-2 HD, home of the world's best footballing action. Sony Pictures Sports Network. Go beyond.
Well, that's a bit of a worry, isn't it, to see Sohail Tanvir leaving the field. Doesn't look as if he's limping in any way there, but it's always not a good sight when you see someone of the quality of Sohail Tanvir leading the field. So it's tough going here today for the St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots. 16 for 1 from 5 overs. That's a wide down the leg side. The Guyana Amazon Warriors winning the toss, bowling first. Hafeez, 1 from 5.
And a welcome one at that.
It's the kind of thing Mohammad Hafeez can do. He's a workmanlike player. He He can work the ball into gaps for ones and his twos, and he's a delightful timer of the cricket ball, as you saw there with that delicious six. Now,
brilliant save. It may have just carried, by the looks of Jacobs, it may have carried, but I tell you what, if he pulled this off, it would have been an absolute blinder. He's gone the reverse cup, diving away to the left side. For that in there, probably technique not quite right, you would say, but it's certainly saved 4, Wilco.
It's a brilliant effort. He's on, of course, as a sub fielder for Sohail Tanvir. You know what, Moots? You talk about maybe the wrong technique, but you know, you went for reverse cup, but perhaps he felt that that was the only way he could get to it.
Well, that's the only way he's going to stop it. He's dived, and you're going to stop it that way, but you're not going to catch it with that technique.
Yeah.
So I think his intention initially was that it wasn't going to carry, so he thought, well, how can I get some sort of contact on this ball to stop it from racing away to the boundary? See, ideally, you want him diving with his hands the other way around. It just makes it very difficult to take the catch, but certainly you're going to stop it. They're the type of opportunities the really good fielders welcome, don't they? They love those sort of chances where they can just pull off a blinder. They're waiting for them.
John T. Rhodes in his day. Chris Gayle sneaks it for 1, and he just doesn't go back for 2s. Those days have gone, I think, for Chris Gayle. It's either 1, 4 or 6. You can't blame him.
Well, he's had a lot of back problems, hasn't he?
Yeah,
you know, so I think we need to respect the fact that he's had a long and extremely successful career, but he's had a lot of lower back problems, particularly over the last 12 months.
No run. 9 from that over. 6 gone. 25 for 1.
Galaxy S8 with infinity display that gives you less to hold and infinitely more to see.
सिचुएशन थोड़ी ट्रिकी और कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है, ऑब्स्टिकल ज्यादा है। देखेंगे पंकज जो 16 टाइम्स वर्ल्ड चैंपियन है कैसे खेलते हैं। और ये जबरदस्त पॉकेट मारा पंकज ने। Q Slam Indian Q Masters League 19th to 25th August, live and exclusive on Sony ESPN, Sony ESPN HD and Sony Live.
25 for 1. 6 overs gone. And power play is done. Chris Gayle on 10. He's faced 12 deliveries. It's been a circumspect Chris Gayle. He hasn't really played a shot in anger yet.
I think it's been good, though. I think what he's doing is respecting the surface. He's respecting the fact that he needs to get himself in on this surface. And once someone like Gayle is in, you know, there's no ground in the world that's big enough. So he's recognising that, you know, getting in and just getting familiar with the pace and the bounce of this wicket is important. It is windy out there as well, so everyone's having to adjust to not only the heat and the wicket conditions, but also the breeze that's brushing across the field. It's quite subdued, this power play, but an important one that they didn't lose too many wickets. There was a brilliant bit of fielding here. Babar Azam taking the catch and recognising he was going out of the ground. Flicked it back and saved the 6, and there's the first wicket. Evin Lewis missed out once again. It's Jacobs that's taken him twice over the weekend now. So the tactic of starting with the off-spinner worked a treat for the Warriors. Just the 25 off the first 6. You'd normally hope to be around that 40 mark. You know, either, you know, sort of 40, 45 mark is around about par in the first 6, but the conditions are different, so you need to adapt.
Emirates bowled well yesterday. He was on the money yesterday. He's captain today in the absence of Marty Guptill. The New Zealand opener is, I think it's a precautionary decision really that he's not playing. He's had a history of hamstring troubles, and the word hamstring came to the fore when the captains were out in the middle with Ian Bishop, and Ryan Emmerich is now the skipper for today, so dual responsibility. Tell you what, I do like the way he bowls. His rhythm looks good.
Yeah, he's smart bowler, isn't he?
Yeah,
he recognises when he needs to use his change of pace. He identifies the right length to bowl on, the right surface. That can change from game to game depending on what you're playing on. He also uses the crease well, where he bowls around the wicket at the right time against certain batsmen, which he's doing now against Gayle, the left-handed Gayle. So he's around the wicket, so he's changing the angle.
3 men back on the leg side fence. Gayle is anticipating possibly the short ball coming from round the wicket, Emmerich.
Oh, he'd be ready for it this time, won't he?
Yes.
It was his downfall yesterday, but it's not too often that you bounce Chris Gayle out. They normally end up 35 rows back.
Yeah, just a little change in the way he delivered that. Now watch here. That's a load up with the grip, seamer's grip. Then he just subtly changes his knuckles on the ball, and then just changes where the fingers come down the side of the ball. Very, very subtle change of grip from Emmerich.
I just want to just expand a little bit on the Guptill situation. Now that is a massive, obviously a blow for the Warriors, because he's a high quality batsman, and for all the fans out there that love watching him bat, and there's many of them, because he does turn it on. I feel that it may be something that may come from the New Zealand board, where they have said, look, you're more than welcome to go and play, but part of the stipulation is you can't play back-to-back games.
Oh, that's a wide.
Just a little short, that one, just climbing over the top of Gayle, so an extra ball's got to be bowled. So I think, and that happens quite often this day and age, where the cricket board, who have the ultimate control over their players, wherever it may be, in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, wherever it may be, may have, because of the history we talked about with Guptill's hamstrings, have said, look, yep, you go ahead, play in the CPL. I'd love you to play there, but you can't play back-to-back games.
Seven overs gone, 31 for 1.
Galaxy S8 with infinity display that gives you less to hold and infinitely more to see.
What does it take to wear this? Years of dedication, endless hours of hard work, and the strength to go beyond.
World's best cricketing action on Sony 6 and Sony 6 HD. Sony Pictures Sports Network. Go beyond.
Has gone. He was stumped off the bowling of Jacobs. Clever bowling from Jacobs, who bowled in the power play and bowled well once again in the power play. And there's a piece of willow for you. I'll tell you what, if you can't hit it over the fence with that, there's no point turning up. The bats these days are amazing, but that's all going to change in October this year, where the ICC have put a stipulation on the width of the bat now. So players will have to make that small adjustment. Obviously the manufacturers will have to make that small adjustment. I don't think it'll make a huge difference to how far the ball travels, to be honest with you, because they're still pretty big.
So I think it's the thickness of the edge.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, which, I mean, if you look at someone like David Warner, I mean, it is just an enormous piece of wood. Now then, here's Rashid Khan, leg spin, the young Afghan player. And what, I mean, for the next, what, 15 years maybe, Moots, you can just think, right, I'm going to be a cricketer. for my country, for Afghanistan, and wherever they'll play their first test. I mean, it's going to be the most momentous day.
Oh, absolutely.